Hello, this is Sally, Sophie, and Julie Gergis. We're presenting on managing mental health in the time of COVID-19. We are obviously going through some unusual times. This is really out of the ordinary. Most, if not all of us, have never lived through a pandemic. So this is lots of new experiences for us. Even though we have historical data on the last pandemic, but as for any of us, none of us have personally experienced and know how we would cope with a pandemic. So I think that's one of the main things to understand, is that we are in unusual times and we don't have enough personal data about ourselves to know how to handle these situations. So our environment is drastically different in a very short period of time. We're talking about a month's period, even if it's that long. Lots of changes in our environment. Our church went to online rather than in person. Our schools went to online rather than in person. We go outside and we notice people are wearing masks and gloves in public and staying about 6 feet away from other people. That's very unusual to what we're used to. We go to the grocery stores and we have empty shelves that we see sometimes, which could be very alarming because we're not used to seeing that. And sometimes we notice tape. Actually, most of the time now we notice tape on the floor to stand away from people. Additionally, some people have experienced either job loss or any job changes. And Sally, feel free to jump in at any time if you want to add to it. So with a lot of change in general in life, feelings come up as a result of us changing and adapting to our environment. So sometimes we may have feelings of anxiety, what's going to happen next. Stress, changes in our life and our lifestyle. For those that are essential staff, they may be working longer hours. They may be more aware of their exposure risk, which increases their stress level. People may have feelings of depression. I've listed sadness later on, and that's some people are isolating. Through this very difficult experience, some people even have their own personal loss. That could be loss in human lives, that could be loss of job, loss of normalcy, grief, loss of freedom, absolutely, yeah. Grief comes up with this, lots of fear, especially fear of the unknown, what's going to happen next. Worry about your own health, especially if you tend to be in the high risk category, and worried about your loved ones and their health as well. Guilt, sometimes we may not even think about this, but guilt over not being able to either protect the people that we care about in our lives, or guilt over not being able to accomplish as much as we're usually able to accomplish. Also, you'll notice, maybe you're noticing some irritation that you're experiencing, or your family members may be a little bit shorter fused and a little bit more irritable. And all of those are resulting feelings from the experiences that we have.
So let's talk a little bit about what anxiety actually is, and what it is for you. So I want you just to stop for a minute and think about, what is anxiety and how would you define it? And what does it look like if you see someone who's anxious? What behaviors are they exhibiting? What body language, what gestures? How would you know that they're anxious? What do they say that leads you to believe that they're anxious? And what does it feel like inside? So the dictionary definition is a feeling of worry, nervousness, or unease, typically about an imminent event or something with an uncertain outcome. And examples of anxiety in the Bible. So Proverbs 12:25, anxiety in a man's heart weighs him down. In Job 5:7, Jehoshaphat says to Job, every person alive will have trouble. And then in Psalm 55:5, fear and trembling come upon me, and horror has overwhelmed me. And then you can see the early church fathers also spoke on the topic of anxiety and worry. In his Ladder of Divine Ascent, St. John writes, "Fear is danger tasted in advance, a quiver as the heat takes fright before unnamed calamity. Fear is a loss of assurance." And then His Holiness Pope Shenouda said, "Never be afraid to trust an unknown future to a known God."
So again, all this stress happened in a month, and I know going over some of these features may also increase our stress level as we're talking about it, but don't worry, stay tuned. We're going to talk about how to manage our stress. So stress has a result in our body. It affects our body. It changes our sleep. We may have our sleep patterns may be off. We may even experience that we're even more tired than we usually are. And that's a result of stress affecting the body. We may also, and you'll hear a lot of people talking about this, changes in eating habits. For some people, they may reach out to comfort foods or eat a little bit more in order to ease their anxiety. You may also notice body aches and pains that you're experiencing as a result of it. We're really grieving a change of life and a change of the unknown. Like I mentioned earlier, this is not something we've experienced before, so there's lots of unknowns. Even within the information we're getting, things are changing rapidly sometimes in a short period of time. And so we are kind of grieving almost like a stability of what we knew. Additionally, we're grieving social changes, our church community. We saw, we miss you all. We saw you all, weekly, even people asking about each other, getting hugs and kisses and, catching up from a conversation the week before. Those are social changes that have affected us. Even at work, let's say, even if you're not really good friends with your coworkers, but you still had, let's say, a social circle, familiar people that you saw and connected with when you went to work. Let's say if you're staying at home right now, that changes. And even if you are essential staff and you're still having to go into the office and have kind of some of those stressors, you're having to stay away from your coworkers. A lot of essential staff are having to either limit their interaction with coworkers or try and stay 6 feet away. And that's also contributing to some social changes. The other thing that sometimes may be challenging to talk about is that you may love your children and you may love your family, but oh boy, is this a lot of together time, right? And so you may be, okay, go ahead, Sally.
Lots of together time, lots of family time.
Lots of family time, and we love our family, right? But this is not something we're used to. We usually take breaks, we go to work, we go to the store, we go to church, but this is a time where it's like 24/7, you're around your family members. And of course, a natural part is there may be small irritations that kind of contribute to stress level. For people that are without their family, they're spending long periods of time alone, so they're not having breaks in that. They are by themselves in their home. They're not having, again, lots of that social interaction. They're not getting like touch and affection and things like that, which we know increases people's stress level. Additionally, there may be bills that are coming in, especially if there's been a change in job that could add an extra stressor as well.
Absolutely.
So now that we've increased everyone's stress level by talking about this, let's go into how to manage your stress, okay? And there are definitely some concrete things you could do to manage your stress. So one of the most important things you'll hear a lot of people talking about is maintaining a regular schedule. Okay, so attending church online by video, if you don't have internet access, there's CDs and tapes. I know growing up a lot, there was tape, at my time, tapes playing of the liturgy and Holy Week and things like that. Now, for those of us that are blessed enough to have internet access, we have access to not only the sounds, but the video and watching Abuna do things, watching very close up to the liturgy sometimes, which is an advantage. And so keeping that schedule of on Sundays, waking up, attending church, Vescha, whatever the case may be, there's the opportunity to still keep that schedule. Maintaining regular prayers, meditations, and readings. For some people that are now working from home, your commute time is cut, so it may actually offer more of an opportunity to do a little bit more prayer and reading and meditation. Bible studies, our church has regular Bible studies. There's the opportunity again to attend online, or you could do your own Bible study at home with your family. And having that as a regular scheduled thing. Engaging in remote fellowship. Sorry, Sally, go ahead.
No, sorry. I was just going to add, there's a great app that the Coptic Church in Australia has put together called Upper Room Media. And I was trying to pull it up on here to show you guys what it looks like. If I can, hopefully I can't make it bigger, but it's this one right here is the symbol for it. And it has fantastic sermons by priests from all over the world. There's worship songs, there's Bible studies, there's just a wealth of information, and you can play it by audio. I think there's videos as well, so you can stream it in your car, you can stream it at home. So it's another good way to plug into church since we're at a distance.
Right, and I think especially during this time of Holy Week, that could actually be even more enriching to connect with those resources as well. And with YouTube resources, we're in a very blessed time that we actually have a lot more access than we did, let's say, 30 years ago to connect. And having apps and opportunities and smartphones. So remote fellowship, reaching out to the church members, we talked about missing people, reach out to them, reaching out by video as well. Another thing you could do is keeping regular schedule of sleep time. So sleeping at a certain time, keeping your routine, changing your clothing. So changing from, we may be more comfortable at home now, but making sure you're changing between your day clothes and your night clothes. So it signals your brain that it's time to go to bed.
Right. Yeah.
Making sure you're showering and brushing your teeth. Actually, all these things, they sound like very basic, but they're actually very preventative for depression, is keeping up with taking care of yourself. Yeah. And then managing your eating habits. So making sure you're eating a lot of vegetables. We're in the Siam time, so lots of leafy greens are very good for your mental health. If you're able to eat fruits as well, depending on your dietary restrictions, eating fruits as well could be very helpful in managing eating habits in your intake.
Yes. And I just want to add to, processed sugar is known to contribute to depression, as is like red meat. And so those are the kinds of things, obviously we're in the Siam this week, but just managing your sugar intake as well can be really helpful in terms of feeling sluggish and tired, and it can cause inflammation, and mood fluctuations. So just being really careful about how much sugar you're taking in.
Absolutely, and for your family as well, because that could lead to as well folks being irritable and hyperactive as well. So absolutely, good point. Limit the amount of news you are taking in. Okay, so we may feel the need of, we have to know everything, we want to be up to date, and that's absolutely okay, but within limits. If you're hearing about this, and sometimes hearing on the news, hearing their tone and how things are presented, that could really heighten anxiety for a lot of people. So you want to listen just long enough to get the information you need, but keeping the TV on regularly on this could actually be very detrimental for your mental health. You
Right.
also want to make sure you're not listening to it at night. That's very important. In fact, even without COVID, I've asked people not to watch the news at night, to cut it off after a certain period of time, because it does affect mood and sleep patterns. Exercising. So I would say doing this daily, if possible, even if you're walking around the block, you're doing yoga, stretches. Every time I hear stretches, I think of my grandmother, God rest her soul. Even when I was a lazy teenager, she would get up first thing in the morning and she would do her stretches, and it was a very good habit. It's very good because you reoxygenate your muscles, you're feeling better. Most people don't feel horrible after they exercise. It makes them feel better. So, all right. Additionally, social connections. So make sure you are calling people on the phone, you texting people, even texting people pictures. Video chat is very recommended. So although it's great to talk to people on the phone, there's really something about seeing them. It's different, for example, for me to talk to Sally on the phone, but when I get to see her and I get to see, oh, look, we wore the same color clothing today. How are you? I get to look at Sally's face. It feels like it's a better connection than just hearing her voice. So when possible, and if you have access to it, using video chat, writing letters, writing emails, even with family that's distant or loved ones, or for church fellowship, planning to have virtual coffee or brunch or dinner together. So this is, let's say you're doing a video chat and you say, oh, let's have coffee together, and each of you brings your coffee cup and you're enjoying coffee. Granted, there's a computer in front of you, but you're still enjoying that. Really remembering, although you hear social distancing, this is actually physical distancing. We don't want to socially distance. We're just socializing differently just for now.
So in terms of, Julie had already talked about getting outside at least once a day. So for those of you maybe that have physical impairments, or it's difficult for you to walk, or you have chronic pain, even just being able to get outside when the sun is out and getting that vitamin D and letting yourself feel the sun on your skin, that can be very therapeutic, even for just a few minutes a day if you can do that. And then the next two things I'm going to talk about are actually evidence-based treatment for reduction of stress. And what I mean by that is that there's a lot of research that's been done over the years that shows the health benefits, both mental and physical, in doing these exercises daily. And basically, the way that it works, it targets the parasympathetic and the sympathetic system in your brain, and so you're basically engaging your relaxation response, because you're kind of in that constant state of fight or flight, and like this perceived threat that's been ongoing that leads to the stress of that. So doing a deep breathing exercise can be really helpful, and it's a very simple thing. The only thing that you do is you find a quiet place, comfortable place if you can, and you can do this with the whole family, or you can just do it by yourself. It's better if you lay down. If not, just find a comfortable chair and relax your hands and your arms and your legs, and uncross your legs. And I think it helps to close your eyes, because it really helps you to focus on your breathing. Basically, you take a deep breath in through your nose, like that. Like when you're swimming and you go underwater and you take a deep breath in, and you're going to hold it for 4 seconds, like you're underwater. So deep breath in. Slowly breathe out through your mouth. So very simple. You want to do that over and over for 5 minutes. You'll notice the tension releasing from your back, your neck, your shoulders. You'll feel it in your chest releasing, and then you'll start to notice the tips of your fingers tingling. And it's a very interesting sensation, but those are actually all signs that your body is engaged in the relaxation response and it's working. I like to do this right before bed if I'm feeling anxious. I'll do it, in the morning to set my day, and I usually would do it midday as well. And I like to include like relaxing music or encouraging Christian music, whatever it is, or if you just want it completely quiet, it's up to you. The next evidence-based treatment is called progressive muscle relaxation. And this is targeting the areas in our body where we tend to hold stress. And it allows us to be more aware of where we're actually holding the stress. And you may already know exactly where you hold stress. So you can target those body parts. But it's thinking about going from like head to toe. So checking in with your body, head to toe. Where am I feeling tight? A lot of people feel it here in their shoulders. Their shoulders get tight. So what you do is you scrunch up your shoulders really tight as much as you can and tense that muscle, and then you release it quickly. And you want to do that about 2 or 3 times for each group. Like your fists, make a fist like you're going to punch something and like grip it really tight and then release it. And you'll feel the tension releasing in your hands. Same thing with your face even, or your jaw. If you hold tension in your jaw, just really kind of trying to be aware of where that is. And doing that once a day can be really helpful. So in addition to that, just talking about other things other than COVID, because it's kind of like, it's all over social media, it's all over the news, it's over the TV, it's what everyone's talking about. And it can be helpful to talk about it to a certain extent, to process whatever feelings and thoughts you're having about it, but it's also really good to talk about other things going on. What are you planning to do for Easter, since the church won't have a picnic? What are we planning to do for this week? How are we going to get out of the house? Are we planning any fun vacations? Anything like that can kind of help steer you away from just talking about COVID. And then in terms of activities that you can try and do on your own or with your family, try and do like more family game nights if possible. And it can be just something simple like, one thing that we did was we had some sidewalk chalk. So we had the kids do like track and field sort of thing where they had to do like a long jump. And then we would mark on the sidewalk where they would jump, and, we'd do different activities like that. Or we did like an obstacle course on the sidewalk with the chalk. So they'd have to like jump here and there or whatever. So if you have younger kids, that might work. Even just like reading or listening to an audiobook. I had mentioned that Upper Room Media app, but I love listening to the sermons that are on there. And I find that very relaxing and a really great way to engage my mind and to distract myself. And some people find like writing in a journal really therapeutic, and being able to talk about your feelings that way, or even just keeping a gratitude journal. So every day coming up with 3 things that you're thankful for can really help to reset your mindset out of that stress and the worry and the fear into like a place of gratitude. And thinking about engaging your creative side through like art or cooking or baking. There's adult coloring books that you can order online. I think there's like a paint by numbers thing that you can do. There's all sorts of really cool activities now that can be so relaxing to do, while you're listening to music or whatever. Everyone can do that in the family. So maybe you guys have an arts and crafts time. With the kids, we are baking cookies regularly. So like finding fun cookie recipes and doing that. And that can be stressful, but it can also be, a lot of fun. I'm trying not to be controlling, I will admit that, but it can be challenging, but it also can be a lot of fun. And one thing that I personally have found therapeutic is being able to use this time to like clear the clutter in the house. So packing away all the baby stuff, packing away, the clothes that I no longer am using, or the things in the house that we don't need anymore, and putting those in boxes and putting those aside, like in the garage, until we can take them to be donated. I find that just keeping the house clean, doing your best to keep the house clean and free of clutter, really also helps to keep the stress away. And a lot of people find cleaning very therapeutic. I personally don't. I find it stressful, but it's not my favorite to do, but I like the after effects of it. So
Yes, the after effects make it feel like it's worth it in the middle of it. It may not be as fun, but
exactly. So just kind of keeping those things in mind, and we're all in this together. So
additionally, it's okay to reach out for help, sometimes due to job loss or just in general tough times. You could outreach to food banks in order to get food. The church has a volunteer group, so reaching out to Abuna if there's stuff that the volunteer group could help with. There's also financial aid, such as like with your mortgage or with your rent, allowing, there's some resources that could help with that as well. And there's a website, I know it may sound funny, but a website called Aunt Bertha that has a lot of resources. What's that?
It's a great website. It has a lot of great. Yeah,
it has a lot of good resources on there as well. Also, when possible, offer help to others as long as it's safe to do so. Neighbors, I know around our neighborhood, there's a lot of, hey, the grocery store packed an extra dozen eggs for me. Does anyone need it? I'll leave it on the porch for you. Checking in with family and friends, reaching out especially to the people you think may have a harder time. That could be helpful. And like Sally mentioned, writing a list of things you're grateful for. Even the tiniest little things, because sometimes that helps you really reflect on what you're grateful for. I have a house. I have, if it's air conditioned, I have some food in the fridge, whatever that may be.
Right. And sorry, before you go, I just wanted to say, I've been doing that with the kids because they've been really struggling with the fact that they can't go to playscapes, and we can't go to like Chick-fil-A, and they can't play on the playscape there, and we can eat lunch or go out, do the things that they're used to doing, or even just going to the neighborhood pool or the neighborhood park. And being able to say, okay, we can't do those things, but what are the things here that we can be thankful for that we have that maybe we take for granted? And, having them like look around, like, what toys do you really love? What's outside that you really like? Or, what are the things that you enjoy doing? And having your kids also get involved in that as well is really helpful for them also, because they're also struggling with this change, and they may show the stress differently.
Right.
Okay, so let's just talk about verses of comfort. And these are ones that Julie and I have come up with, ones that speak to our hearts. And I would encourage you to think about printing them out, ones that you find comfort in, maybe writing them out on a paper. And then I like to just cut them out in little small strips of paper, and then I put them around the house. So like I'll put them on the bathroom mirror, or I'll put them on the fridge or the front door, the back door, just places where we all frequent. And it's just really nice reminders of God's promises to us. And I think it allows the Holy Spirit to work in us and to speak to us in just kind of the small moment. So let's read these together. The first one is 2 Thessalonians 3:16. Now may the Lord of peace himself give you peace at all times and in every way. The Lord be with you all. Second, Philippians 4:6 and 7 is the second one. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. Then Matthew 11:28 and 29. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest in your souls. And then John 14:27, peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. Not as the world gives, do I give to you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. In Psalm 55:22, cast your burden on the Lord, and he shall sustain you. He shall never permit the righteous to be moved.
So we put up here some, Abuna has sent out this text message as well. So this is just copied straight from the text message that Abuna sent out, is just having available to you some context during difficult times. So may you all have a belated happy Palm Sunday and a blessed Holy Week. Thank you for allowing Sally and I to share some of this knowledge with you all, and we hope you all find peace during this difficult time.
And just to be compassionate for yourselves and for your family members and everyone going through this. I mean, these are suggestions, but you know, we're all in this together. We're all struggling. We're all trying to find the new normal. So just show yourself mercy and grace during this time as you adjust. We're all just trying to figure this out one day at a time.
Right. Thank you all. We'll see you in church soon.
Yes.